Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Breakdown with Renmar, a show where we analyze and discuss my favorite sequences from each day of MPL Philippines Season 14. We're going to be looking at Week 2 matches for this week, and we're going to start things off with TLPH versus TNC Pro Team. Now, I wanted to highlight this because it shows the strengths, one of the many strengths of Team Liquid Philippines, and one of the weaknesses of TNC Pro Team that I think they're going to be working on heading into week number 3. To start things first, again, as always, let's acknowledge what we know in the map. So, number 1, well, Escalera finds JP and he'll be able to pick him off. With how TNC are positioned, this is how they're gonna be building advantage. Remember, heading into objective team fights, teams would wanna build advantage, either with positional advantage or what we call man advantage. Positional advantage is when they cover their bases. They cover here, they cover here, they cover here, they cover here, and maybe as it gets into the later portions of the game, they cover this angle, just covering the areas where their opponents can go through so that their jungler can retribution safely, knowing that the enemy jungler isn't anywhere close or you're blocking any potential skill shots that could take the objective away from your team. Number 2 is man advantage, which is what we all know as teams just looking to pick off 1 or 2 members of the opposing team, or if they can't get the kill, bring the key opposing members of the other team low so that they can no longer safely contest. That is a man advantage, and that's what TNC Pro Team are building here. Before we continue the sequence, we have to acknowledge also the items available for key players. So the Moskov is in the fight and all other members of TNC Pro Team are here. Moskov still only has a swift crossbow, exotic veils on the key magic damage dealers. You have a wand on the Julian available. You already have the magic shoes, the arcane boots, so that's there. As you go on, you're going to see that Rizla is going to be able to build the War Axe, and to acknowledge the items of the opposing side, you have Swift Crossbow for the carry, who will be nearby and will be able to join in after she clears the wave. You have the Wind Talker, which Carl TZ just built up, Exotic Veil on the Aurora, and the Thunderbelt for the Edith. So now, as we continue the sequence, we're going to be seeing that TNC Pro Team are going to blow a lot of abilities just to take that Jawhead down. We know how quickly the abilities of a Julian can come back. However, the ultimate of the Vexana was spent so that there's no more Eternal Guard for the objective team fight, and there's no more ultimate of the Tigreal as well. So it was a very expensive pick-off, but TNC Pro Team was able to do what they did, and they did build advantage. However, there's 7 seconds before the objective spawns, more than enough time for this to happen. You see the Edith finally reacting to the team fight happening, knowing that TLPH sees 5 members of TNC. Sanford is going to go ahead and join in. The members of TNC are blocking out Carl TZ, poking him down. Heads built the War Axe so he can be offensive. He did get 3 kills already. And Benny Cutie just built the Corrosion Scythe. Kozen will go back and manage the wave. Carl TZ's purple buff spawns, and TNC Pro Team decide to continue the turtle. Hatred, Escalera, poking, zoning, but the problem is now the Edith is close by. An Edith that will be getting its flicker soon enough. Carl TZ and Benny Cutie are in key positions to be able to go in and deal damage if ever needed, and of course for Carl TZ to steal the objective. However, there is information from the Eternal Guardian that, well, TNC Pro Team knows where Team Liquid Philippines, Carl TZ and Benny Cutie are. The sequence will continue, and this sequence shows just how important or how strong Edith is in the current meta. Again, they spent a lot of ultimates just so that they can get that pick off into JP and advantage here. TLPH knows their advantage of the Edith. They see the positioning of the key members of TNC Pro Team. Carl TZ has his Retribution, and Sanji still has his ultimate and passive as well. So even though TNC Pro Team were the ones who got the initial pick off onto JP, they go into this with a massive skill disadvantage. They don't have key ultimates. So as we continue, Sanford will make the absolutely right call. He uses the Flicker, the Earth Shatter to force a response out of Kozen, who is already to forced to use his Purify so that he can take out the crowd control dished out by the Edith, because you have the Aurora going here to deal damage and potentially dish out the ultimate to control. Now you also have Heads though blocking out Carl TZ and Benny Cutie, so this becomes a little bit more manageable for TNC Pro Team because it's 4v2 with 1 blocking the main damage dealers of Team Liquid Philippines. But again, the skill disadvantage. Sanford at this point can withstand a good amount of damage because, as we saw earlier, TNC Pro Team doesn't have a lot of items just yet. They're still going to building up their main items. And as we continue, you see Sanford will be able to use Primal Wrath at maximum. So that's the maximum capabilities with Primal Wrath, and in the early game, it's a devastating spell. Uses the ultimate, gets the shield. All the members of TNC are clumped up together. Sanford is happy, and Sanford will single-handedly turn the fight, Sanji dealing damage from the wings. And again, even though TNC Pro Team were the ones who build advantage by taking down JP first, even JP was able to come back in time, and TNC Pro Team are forced to go back with Carl TZ and Team Liquid Philippines getting the turtle for free. Okay, for the second sequence, I just really wanted to highlight a point that Wolf actually made in an interview recently. So he was asked what are the causes of the struggle of TNC Pro Team, and he did mention the lack of chemistry, or still building up the chemistry of the team, and of course the veterancy, because this team is still relatively new. It was a rebuild for TNC Pro Team. Even though you have veterans in this team, it takes a while for everything to gel together, and you can see it here up against a team like Team Liquid Philippines, who have a set play in mind for the objective. Key positioning is Sanji holding this shrub being held, this shrub being held. And right now there's no information as to where the Jawhead and the carry are. But TNC Pro Team, well, they are a pro team. They know that somewhere here is occupied. This larger area where the members of the LPH are going to be occupied somehow. Because when you're going into the objectives, you want to hold this key position. Not all of it, but one of those. Just one in the shrub, another in the shrub. Don't necessarily need to hold this, although as we've said in previous episodes, this shrub is very important. But as we see this, TNC Pro Team should know that there's a high chance that there is someone here. Based off of the tendencies of Team Liquid, or all pro teams rather, the mid laner, the roamer, XP laner, they all should be here. But watch what TNC does. So Escalera will get the info that Sanford's there because he saw the Earth Shatter animation. Escalera will flicker forward and set, but the problem is this bush was held by Sanji. Before any play, supposed to be committed, knowing that it's leading up to an objective, knowing that the last info that you got from mid was that the minion wave was pushed forward, there's a good chance that the opposing mid laner is somewhere around this area. That yes, there's a wind up time here, but there's ways for Sanji to get close enough, get in a good angle to eventually counter-punish TNC. And that's exactly what happens. The moment Escalera uses the implosion to catch Sanford, there is no backup by TNC Pro Team that is safe, because Sanji goes ahead and drops the Frigate Glacier and all the crowd control abilities that he has, full on combo to punish JP, great flicker read toss to catch heads. Knock up, counter by the Eternal Guard, JP will get punished, and again the story continues of TNC Pro Team not having the key abilities right now to withstand a much longer team fight. Sanford wasn't brought low and he still has his ultimate. Carl TZ can hop into full form. JP, yes, the roamer isn't there, but the frontliner is. Sanji still has his passive. Benny QT wasn't even touched there. Escalera and SDZYZ will try, but it questions me as to why they tried to trigger for the 50-50. The conceal play, yes, Escalera used that so he could use that to get into better position to knock back the members of TLPH. But this is such a risky team fight to continue, knowing what you spent already to try and get a better pick off for yourself, and TLPH would punish them. Sanford pops his ultimate, Heads uses the penalty zone, but at that point it's easy pickings for the Edith going up against members of TNC who were low. TNC, I feel like after that happened, they should have just tried to get a win elsewhere instead of losing the Turtle, losing Escalera, losing Heads, giving more to TLPH in what was a close game, now ballooned into a little bit of a better placement for TLPH. The sequence will get continued to the point where Liquid will be able to get the turret in the mid, and that is a massive loss. Again, this is one of the tendencies of TNC Pro Team as to why they've been struggling. They've been spending so much for that initial advantage pick-off, especially around the second, third turtle in the game, that they would lose a major fight because of that, and that would snowball from there. Either with their opposing or their opponents being able to get towers, getting more kills. It just happens. Rinse and repeat the TNC Pro Team so far this season. So for this next portion of the episode, we're gonna be really just looking at the brilliance of Chaknu. Yes, another episode that highlights Chaknu, but he's just been a beast. And this isn't just to highlight him, but also, of course, the rest of Omega, who do so well to follow him up and respond to the sets and information that Chaknu gives. We're gonna look at this sequence. I believe this is from game number 1, yes. And the information leading up to what we're about to see is that Omega know that Chaknu is gonna be coming from this area. Meaning that if they decide to go and cover more here, go up here, then Chaknu will move forward and cover here. Mainly this one. But that seems to fly over the heads of Blacklist International as they go ahead and move forward. Chaknu covers the shrub, the pixel brush that we were just talking about, and quick, easy setup and great response again by Omega. Even though, yeah, they'll be able to get an easy pickup there onto Haji. They find him. The key thing is that Omega responded very well and knew that they can spend their abilities. It can be an expensive pick-off because the turtle will take time. If that was closer to the turtle timers, it might have been risky for Omega to spend so many abilities just to get that pick-off, but they spent it at a time where it takes a long time for the turtle to spawn. So again, same principle here. Last information that Blacklist International got was that Chaknu is around this area, and you see Ukir and Jome. So it's fair to assume that there are 4 members of Omega just around here. Blacklist International though acknowledges that and decides to commit a play. As we continue this, you see Delar will make the call, MP the King, and exort. The ultimate of the Edith ends up with the Valentina. Going forward, yes, but you have to know that Sir Blacklist International knows that the Bane will throw out his ultimate even though they decide to go full dive. However, the timing of this to me is quite off because they know where Haji is. They know where Chaknu was. That is not enough time for the Grok to respond and join in because, well, the Grok is low. Number 2, the Grok doesn't have a flicker. Number 3, the Grok's just way too far, yo. So Blacklist International will decide to poke it out. Yes, MP the King will be able to enter, get damage into Ukir. Great use of the ultimate, because right now you're just trying to build advantage. You're just trying to take out the ultimate, or excuse me, rather the passive of the Aurora. So he's able to do that, mission accomplished, and MP the King gets away, but Chapnu catches him with a Flicker Earth Shatter. That play was committed so that Blacklist International can take out the passive of the Aurora, so that in the next sequence building up, the Hayabusa has a good chance to take out the Aurora, if either not by picking off Ukir, he can just send him low and send him home. But Chapnu turns it around with a Flicker Earth Shatter. And it's not like Blacklist had no information. They knew it was coming, but Chapnu, just what a read. That is quite close to the edge of the Earth Shatter. And it's another equally great follow-up from the members of Omega. Jome was there to use the Blazing Duet. He used the Purify and the CC immunity of the Purify. Again, you don't just purify a crowd control ability when you use it. You also have CC immunity for some time, and by the time Haji got in to use the wild charge, the CC immunity for Jome, he was able to avoid it. And that would be a win for Omega. That's it for this episode of Breakdown with Renmar. We have 2 more episodes coming up this week, one on Wednesday and one on Friday before the show begins on MPL Philippines. We also have another fun facts video coming up later in the week, most likely gonna be coming out on Thursday, depending on how fast I can edit it. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. You have all been very vocal and supportive about the series. That's why I'm continuing it. The numbers are doing great. I see the conversations happening in the comment section wherever these episodes are posted, so I'm very happy, very grateful, and I'll see you on the next one.